I'm going to talk about things that have not happened, and this does not imply that any government of whichever color has not done that. I'm completely apolitical, so please do keep that in mind. I'm just going to talk facts about what has been done or what can happen. I have three other people in the family who have very strong political views opposing to each other, so I keep quiet even in the family. I do not express my views. So, these are the four topics I'm going to speak about. The farm fires in North India, the wonderful mountains we have in Delhi, the traffic problem and the car problem, and of course, why we shifted to the edge of Noida because I wanted to be next to a river, and this is what we have. I just like to take a quick opinion poll here, please, before I proceed, because that will tell me how much to speak on what topic. So just give me a hands up who are the farm fires the most important issue for people here? No? The mountains?
Yes.
The traffic?
Yes.
And the river?
Yes.
So I think the traffic is the most important, the river is the next one, the mountains are the third, and the farm fires, probably not, right? They are important, of course. Delhi is called a city of garbage. Delhi is called a car park. Delhi is called the Delhi kills, both on the road and through your lungs and the problems that happen. I will live 10 years younger than, less than what I plan to live, and I think most people who are here have the same sentiment. But Delhi is very, very important. It is the gateway to India. It is the image of India. It is when people come, this is what they see first. And therefore, I think for the positioning of Delhi is so important that we need to tackle all these four problems and fairly quickly. There have been many, many people who talk about these problems. My problem with hearing opinions is that they talk about individual solutions, technologies that can be applied, but there is no projectization of these technologies. There is no plan, overall plan. Many things have been tried to clean the Ganga. The Yamuna, for example, 7,000 crores has been spent. These are incremental things that we try. I would like to suggest here that the problems are huge and the solutions have to be large. You cannot have small solutions, incremental implementation, and solve large problems, because these problems are increasing so fast that it is like a tsunami. You do something, there's one step forward and 10 steps back because you cannot keep up with any of these issues. I'm going to speak for about half an hour only, although each of these topics would take days. So this is, and we did a work on some of these problems 20 years ago. This was a report that my team submitted. It is here on this table. And we submitted this Vision Delhi 2021. And this was a grand plan to solve a lot of these problems. It was submitted, it was approved by the Delhi cabinet, It was approved by the Haryana government, who also have a stake in this. It was sort of approved by the UP government. It was approved by Niti Aayog, at that time the Planning Commission. It was approved by the Delhi Urban Arts Commission. Some of this was agreed to be funded entirely by HUDCO. But then something happened. We got a lot of pushback on a lot of these solutions. I'd like to, if anybody's interested, the report is here. I can give a link at a later stage and you can see and this report talks about much more than what I'm going to talk about now, a lot of issues. We coined the word, the branding of Delhi, like Goa, Kerala has God's own country. We said delightful Delhi or Dilwali Dilli. And somebody picked up the last line here, I don't know who, and said Dilli Dilwalon ki. But such is life. So let's talk about the farm fires. This is Delhi's problem, but not Delhi's solution. This happens all over North India, Punjab, Haryana, UP, a bit of Rajasthan as well. But this is not Delhi's problem. So let's talk about what can be done. This will be the shortest part of my talk. This is a seasonal problem essentially for about a month and a half every year during November, and it is poisonous. We have AQI measurements only up to 500, but it goes to 1,000, it goes beyond 1,000, and we feel somewhat happier that it's only 500. There is a simple solution for this, very simple solution for this, but it needs to be done on a very large scale. The solution is that the biomass or the crop residue is a colossal waste of natural resources. This is wealth. This is not waste. Waste is not waste until it is wasted. I need to put on my specs. From this waste, bioenergy, biofuels, so many things can be done. It's just a question of how to get there in terms of collecting this waste and then building the processing plants, and you get a lot of energy. This is a huge national resource. It is not waste. There are 23 million tons of waste that is burnt every year. 23 million tons. It's not only Punjab, it's not only Haryana, it is about UP also. But the combined North Indian is 23 million tons. And this, during this month, this last month, adds 58% of air pollution to Delhi. 58%. And a lot of government efforts have been made, lots of technologies have been suggested, but the farmers continue to do this. Now, there is a lot of equipment that people are talking about balers and about residue management machinery and all of that. I would suggest that the best thing you can do is to have an MSP for stubble. You have an incentive to farmers to cut their stubble and they earn money and add to the income. If you have an MSP for stubble, and by the way, the plants that have been suggested here, which are operating, are tackling only 0.27 million tons out of 23 million tons. This is 1%. This is not the solution, and you can keep on adding small plants, it will not go away. If you were to pay the farmer, and this is just a random figure, 1,000 rupees per ton of stubble. 1,000. And then you built briquetting plants, multiple briquetting plants, all over where where the farmers are. This will cost you a maximum of 1,500 crores for the whole problem. All briquetting plants will cost you, in my estimation, just 1,500 crores. And then you add another transport and other overheads to take the waste to warehouses, build warehouses. This will cost another 1,500 crores. And then when you put the processing, which in my view is plasma gasification, which is the fastest, which is the largest technology in order to handle such large waste, it'll cost you another 5,000 or 6,000 crores. The total investment for solving this entire problem will be 7,000 to 8,000 crores. I don't think that's a big price to pay when you are building huge ticket infrastructure all over the country. 7,000 to 8,000 crores will solve this problem entirely if there is incentive to the farmer, MSP for the stubble. It increases his income, you have happy farmers, and it also gives great financial returns because of the fuels that you get out of this, the biofuels. You get the energy out of this, you can even produce hydrogen out of it, which is a buzzword these days. So there are great financial returns as well. So happy farmers, cleaner air, happy citizens of Delhi, and happier Delhi. 7,000 crores. This is easily done in the next 3 years. You cannot build small processing plants and process only 1% of this problem. Now, there is a wonderful guy called Colonel Manish Ahuja. You probably haven't heard of his name. He is building briquettes out of agriculture waste, and he is using these briquettes. He sells them to industry for their energy, for their burners and things like that. He's also introduced them as cremation fuel. You'd be horrified that every cremation needs about 300 to 500 kgs of wood. And you know how many trees that is? That is 1.5 trees. And you know how they value the trees? 10-year-old trees are valued at 1.5 lakhs. So multiply 1.5 lakhs by 90,000 cremations that happen in Delhi. It is a humongous amount of money. A briquette, and this has been adopted by Aurangabad, fantastic application. 75% of Aurangabad cremations are done with briquettes, not wood. Mumbai has also started this. If you have all this farm waste converted into briquettes, you will be able to conduct a whole lot of cremations all over India by just that farm waste and not cut down. Delhi's cremations cost 400,000 trees to be cut every year. Multiply 400,000 trees by 1.5 lakhs per tree. Everything else becomes meaningless after that. And this is a simple solution. So, Colonel Manish Ahuja is a pioneer in this, and do Google him. And this is a very minor amount that he's tackling, but an overall government plan to process these 23 million tons of waste will add a lot of value and energy and saving of the environment, and we'll breathe a lot easier. I'm not going to take too long on each item because I plan to speak for just about half an hour, 40 minutes, and each of this will take much longer. So I'm going to move on. Wonderful mountains of Delhi. There are two big ones. and one small one in Okla. Balsava, Wazir, Ghazipur, and Okla. They had a life of 20 years when they were built. They've been operating for 40 years. They had a height limit of 20 meters. They're now approximately 38 to 40 meters. One is 41 meters, which is just about 8 meters short of the Qutub Minar. This is increasing every day. You cannot handle this because 14,000 tons of waste comes out in the NCR every single year. 14,000. And this is up from 8,000 about 15 years ago. We were doing this work 20 years ago, and then it was only 7,000 to 8,000. We went to the Delhi government, we went to the Gujarat government for Ahmedabad, we went to lots of ideas we gave, but there wasn't any response because people work in silos. You had, if you were to produce energy from this garbage, somebody had to buy the electricity. And there was no visibility of who would buy the electricity at what price. Somebody had to give you land for the processing place, factories, and there was no visibility on how you would get that land. But there's a plan. I have a plan on this as well. This 14,000 tons will increase to much more. At the rate it is increasing, I hate to think what will happen in 2047 when you arrive at Viksit Bharat. This will be a pile of garbage. All of Delhi will be a pile of garbage. Only about 80% of the garbage is collected, the rest is left on the streets. More than 35 million tons have been dumped in these 3 landfills. You cannot move this. You have to leave it there. It is not possible to move 5 tons per truck and move 35 million tons. So, about 15 million has been treated in some form or the other. Waste to energy plants, and we need to speak about that also. There are 4 of them in Delhi, which also emit a lot of dust and pollution, and the residents are very, very unhappy about this. One is, the biggest one I think is owned by Jindal Group, and they incinerate the waste to... So, currently waste to energy plants do only 5,500 tons per day out of 14,000 tons. And another 2-3 are under implementation, will take it up to 8,000 tons. This is a never-ending exercise that you're getting overwhelmed with 14,000 tons coming, and you cannot keep up with the processing. So, what happens? Rapid poisoning of about 3 to 4 million residents around these landfills. This is rapid poisoning. And it's not just them, it is the whole population of Delhi, because this goes all over Delhi, including a lot of children. Respiratory diseases, of course, poisoning of the surrounding water, worsening water quality, severe damage to the image of our country and of our city. These dump sites are not hidden away somewhere. They're on main expressways and main highways. One is on the route to Muradabad and Garhwal. One is on the Haryana highway. This is the image that you get, and this is not a very desirable image. Well, the voices from these places are, they say, you progress while we burn. People around. And they say, waste never ends, it keeps on coming. So, here's the solution. I like solutions. The only problem is solutions are very, very large, and they have to be funded as a uniform program with all people engaging in a connected way. Immediately shut down one landfill, which is Balsava, which is the largest. Temporarily divert the load, daily load of Delhi to the fourth one that is under construction on the Haryana border called Tekchand. It's not yet filled up. So the daily load that comes to Balsava, diverted to that for the time being, because you can't build things immediately. There is this wonderful term called geomembrane. This is used for waterproofing lakes, lining rivers so that there's no percolation, but it also stops all the gases and emit dust moving from anywhere that you want to move it. These are images of landfills that have been covered by geomembrane. This is very easily done. When you start, and at the same time, start building a new sanitary landfill with geomembrane lining of, say, about 30 acres, it won't be too difficult to find 30 acres. Flatten Balsava into a shape, flatten or any desirable shape, and cover it with geomembrane. But put in a pipeline network inside to extract the methane that might still be there. Harvest that methane and use it for energy. You can do a lot from that harvested gas. You will stop all the emissions, you will stop all the dust, you will stop all the smell, you will stop all the pollution. The neighborhood around Balsava will all of a sudden begin to regenerate. This is easily done. Cover the entire site to prevent emissions, fire, and the impact during weather events like rain. Landslides happen, people die. Treat this like Balsava. After the site becomes benign, which it will with the geomembrane and the extraction of methane, you cover it with some earth, compact it, and build some real estate out of that, or some public parks out of that. What I would like to show you is, no, sorry, I don't have that slide. There is a friend of mine who was with me on the Green Growth Leaders in Copenhagen. I would call him the best architect in the world. Copenhagen doesn't have any mountains. He has converted this waste dump into a ski resort. The only mountain in Copenhagen, the only hill station in Copenhagen, with high-end residential and office apartments on it. This is not a long exercise. This is a 3-year exercise. That's it. Okay. Repeat Balsava with the other two also. It has to be a sequence because you can't stop waste dumping anywhere. This problem can be solved with 8,000 crores. All dumps disappear. All neighborhoods become benign and pleasant. Delhi air increase. I firmly believe that there's no point talking about ideas and technologies until and unless you can suggest a detailed plan for it. And I also believe that there's no technology that is right until it fits into another technology. The end of one fits into the beginning of the other, and the end of the other fits into the beginning of the next. These problems are solved with multiple technologies, and we only talk about single technologies. This can be done in 3 years for all of Delhi's glorious mountains. And you could, for example, invite the private sector because it is profitable. You could They could use the energy from the methane. They could produce energy, power. They could sell the power. And you can give them some concessions on the real estate that you build on these mountains. You have an example how the Dharavi slum is very attractive to a large real estate developer. The concession are given to him to develop a nice area. You could, I mean, these mountains of Delhi, the only 3 mountains of Delhi will become very attractive for 8,000 rupees and partly private funded through concessions. Okay, so how do you destroy the waste? That 8,000 rupees, by the way, will mean that you have to put 30 gasifiers, plasma gasifiers of 500 tons per day, which will take care of everything. What is a plasma gasifier? You take the waste unsegregated, and somebody, I was talking about plastics, recycling plastics. I don't agree with that. Only 10% of the plastics in India get recycled. But if you leave the plastics in there, in the waste and the paper, the calorific value of the waste is higher. If the calorific value is higher, the energy output is higher. These plasma gasifiers are, they operate on their own. You don't need electricity to run them. They produce the electricity and the surplus electricity left for you to sell. What is left is this slag. You can put this in your mouth, it is benign, from the waste. This is beautiful material that you can make tiles out of this, you can make buildings out of this, you can make the roads out of this. This is very, very hard. The slag that comes out of your waste will be between 6 to 10% only. 90% will be destroyed after energy is also produced. You can actually come and touch this after this talk is over. It is very, very beautiful material. This is the slag from a plant in Daejeon in Korea, where I took this because we had collaborated with them, and we took this technology. By the way, I have no commercial interest in any of these things now, no commercial interest whatsoever, but at that point in time I did. So this is also a very valuable material from this waste. Okay, now to mobility. Wheel was created, but nobody understood what problem it would lead to. It is quite amazing. But what has it led to? Because you cannot build a city without cars, unfortunately. Although me and Savina and Sukhsab over there and Munish over there know how to do it. But you cannot build cities without cars. The urban planning is basically you take a blank sheet of paper, draw squares on it where the roads will be, where the cars will be. That is the start. It's also called transit-oriented development, TOD, very loosely used word. I believe in DOT, development-oriented transit. You build roads when you need to build roads to connect important things, not do the roads first and then do the development around it. This is very wasteful. Anyway, so this is the biggest contributor to Delhi's emissions. Some say 45%, some say 58%. There's no credible data here. But this is the biggest problem in Delhi. And I thought people here were more interested in this than in most other things. There are 40 million trips per day in Delhi. And 3.2 million only use public transport. 25% or 9 million use private vehicles. And so, therefore, again, this is a problem. And the rest use auto rickshaws and taxis, cycle or walk. Average trip length is 11 kilometers. And the speed in a normal car, the average speed, is 21.5 kilometers per hour. If you are a good cyclist, this is slower than your cycle speed. Otherwise, the cycling speed is also 15 kilometers at the least and 25 kilometers. So you're moving that's slower than a bicycle. And it's going to get much, much worse. And in some places, and this is going to go projected to 8 kilometers per hour very soon, which actually you can also walk 8 kilometers per hour. But in some places at the moment, comes down to 5 kilometers per hour. That road, I forget, in front of the airport, leading to Gurgaon. That comes down to 5 kilometers per hour speed. Economic Times in 11 years ago, said Delhi will come to a standstill in only 7 years. So it has not come to a standstill. But this is the narrative that continues to be talked about. The average commuting time in Delhi is 64 minutes. And this is the average. Mr. Sukh over there used to travel 2 hours one way and 2 hours back. He used to spend 4 hours in the car every single day. Now, even if you take just 65 minutes, this is equal to 7% of your waking time, which you spend in unpleasant occupation, traveling in your private car. And of course, there are over 2 lakh vehicles that enter and exit Delhi every day. 58%, so one publication says 58% of the air pollution in Delhi is caused by transport. Metros, MRT, there's a lot of talk about metros. Delhi Metro is the 3rd or 4th largest metro in the world. But till today, they have not been able to get ridership as per the projected traffic that they did many years ago. Only 75% of the projected traffic uses Delhi Metro. And if you go to other cities, Lucknow, Hyderabad, etc., Ahmedabad, Bangalore, it's in the teens or it is in the 20s. Why does that happen? It happens because there's no feeder and last mile. Transport has to be connected with the integrated travel time. There's a saying says, too far to walk, too short to drive. So people still drive because it is too far to walk. And since there's no feeder and there's no last mile, this is what happens. Even if Delhi Metro achieved 100% of their forecast demand, it is still a long way from solving the problem. And Delhi Metro is nearly 400 kilometers long at the moment. Another interesting fact. In 1993, Delhi road length for 1,000 cars was 11 kilometers. 11 kilometers, 1,000 cars. In 2022, it is 4 kilometers. 4 kilometers for 1,000 cars. This is the tsunami of a problem that you're facing. You cannot build roads in the middle of your city. You build roads in the middle of your city It's like when you think you're obese, you're loosening your belt. There's a limit to how much you can do. You cannot build it into the middle of the city. So prepare to be annoyed in every journey that you do. This is not quality of life, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we have killed 1,257 people in Delhi in road accidents. We are 6 times larger casualties than other Indian cities. We kill 1,70,000 people in road accidents every year. This is bigger than any crime, any murder, any wars. This is the greatest killer. Unnatural death. I don't mean diseases and stuff, but unnatural death. This is the greatest killer. There's no road space to add more vehicles. People talk about buses. Where can you put buses now when you have 1,000 vehicles on just 4 kilometers? And those roads are congested with unruly pedestrians, with vendors. So the road space available is much, much less than in any other place. Now, I'm going to talk about a fairly radical idea. So please bear with me, because this is, in my view, the only idea that can work. Mobility and everything in a city, and this is about planning, and we have, me and my team have designed 53 new cities in the world, including SEZs, cities in India, cities in Vietnam, cities in Georgia. And this is it is my firm belief that mobility has to be vertically integrated. You cannot compete on the ground for space for all mobility and all infrastructure. So I'm going to show you something that appears a little radical, but, oh, by the way, Delhi is a place of car parks. God is not making any more land, so this is illogical. You cannot do this. This is how we travel. Of course, the left picture is not Delhi, but I thought it was a nice message. This is Mumbai, suburban trains. And this is Delhi Metro. This is not a pleasant way to travel. It is unsafe. It is, especially during the pandemic. There's no social distancing. So, what do? And of course, this is what we kill. 465,000 people killed per day in Delhi. 50 of them are children. And 150 are pedestrians approximately. This is just, I couldn't resist using this slide. This is our origin-destination matrix. The left one is over ant hill. They're far more intelligent than we are, by the way. They're far more organized. There is a direct connectivity from every point of use to every point of origin without interference, because they build their roads not only vertical, but in every other way, so that one does not interfere with the other. If ants lived like us, which is horizontally, we would require 25 new Earths, because there are many more ants than people. 25 new Earths. But because they live like that, much more sensibly, with structural design, with drainage, with everything. On the right is what we designed for Gift City. All heard of Gift City. Whereby we tried to copy some of those principles, that everything goes from origin to destination without interference. But of course, it couldn't be done as efficiently as the anthill. In the gift city that we designed, we had an ambition anywhere to anywhere in 10 minutes. Ambitions like this are necessary when you're talking about urban spaces and urban design. Delhi needs an ambition, not 10 minutes, but anywhere to anywhere in X minutes, which means a multitude of transports interconnected. Modi ji in 2017, when there was a mobility conference, made a wonderful statement. Two wonderful statements. Mobility is like the beginning of the internet. That is the opportunity. He also made a statement, it is 7 C's. I don't remember all the 7 C's, but one was connected, one was comfortable, one was, well, whatever it was, but connected and comfortable. This was his statement in a mobility conference in 2017. How do we solve this? I'll show you a scheme of vertical integration, vertical segregation. This is Gift City, how we started to design this. You will see vertical segregation of all sorts of movement. The MRT on top, a PRT, which is what I do, below that, the pedestrian and cars underneath. So that people and then infrastructure underneath. Ground belongs to people. This was the principle that we tried to follow, not implemented. But ground is where they can relax, they can go for jogging, they can go for cycling, they can go for recreation. And this can easily be done. Not doable in Delhi now, but I'll come to what is doable in Delhi. This is just a principle of vertical segregation. Hong Kong on the left. If you go to central Hong Kong, people walk even long distances because there are travelators and the elevated highways, walkways and flyways. On the right is Calgary, and the red lines over there show the elevated walkways in Calgary, which connect to all buildings. There are these kind of systems that exist in even Houston, in Seoul, in Toronto. You could, for example, in Toronto, wear a light shirt in the middle of winter and go from your apartment to your workplace through a metro that also runs underground because it is temperature controlled, and all along these walkways are retail outlets and shopping. So you can do your shopping also, restaurant also. You can go in a shirt in minus 10 degrees centigrade to work and come back. This is vertical segregation. Can this be done in Delhi? Probably not. But here is what can be done in Delhi. There are 1,400 kilometers of main roads in Delhi. There are many more. Arterial roads in Delhi, 1,400 kilometers. 70% of the traffic travels on this 1,400 kilometers. This is where the accidents happen. Not on the 30,000, 40,000 kilometers of road in Delhi, but on the 1,400 kilometers of road in Delhi. We build flyovers. Do you know what is the load requirement in flyovers? It must bear a load of 60 tons. Do you know what will be the load requirement here? 600 kgs. This is far cheaper, far cheaper than building flyovers. Why lift heavy trucks up when you can lift people up? And when you have travelators like this, by the way, in another document I had, it said, in all Indian cities, which are 10 million and above, 40% of the people walk to work. 6% of the people cycle to work. So people are used to walking, but on unsafe, non-pavement areas, jumping zebra crossings and getting killed. This is, now, every 1 kilometer of this elevated walkway, and you can build cheap walkways. Cheap walkways are only 30 crores per kilometer. And after every 1 kilometer, you can have a bubble where you can lease out to retail outlets. They can buy their drinks, they can buy their chocolates, they can buy their newspapers, and these can be connected to your transit points, to your metro stations. These can be connected to shopping malls, these can be connected to your offices. These can also be connected to first mile and last mile, other transport options. And when you have travelators, 4 travelators per kilometer, and you can have benches in between, this will be a pleasant journey to work, to your work and home. How much will this cost? This is the most expensive of all my solutions, by the way. This will be 60,000 crores. All over Delhi. All arterial roads over Delhi. Can easily be done. But if you do it over 10 years, it is 6,000 crores. If you do 25% upfront, it is 15,000 crores. And if you give advertising concessions, if you give retail concessions, if you get payment from offices and from other transit systems for you to connect your walkways to them, there'll be a lot of money to be made, especially advertising and retail. So this is eminently private sector financed if you agree to give concessions. And you will save 1,000 lives. And you will remove many, many cars from the road. The impact of this? Very significant shift from personal vehicles. Huge increase in health and safety. Huge reduction in emissions. Much faster road traffic, the roads will be much emptier. By the way, Singapore has a lovely system called hawker centers, where they place all hawkers in select locations with car parking around it. Even on the 4 kilometers of road where the 1,000 vehicles are, increase the road available space for vehicles. And this you can do by removing hawkers into precise hawker centers where they are happier also because there's car parking, and that is the solution. This will increase productivity much, much, much higher, and it will vastly improve the quality of life. How am I doing on time? I have just one more solution to give, which is the Yamuna. Yeah, so this is what I've just said. Oh, this is the center of Seoul a few years ago. You know what it looks like now? That. The same road. They moved the traffic on the side, restricted traffic use over there, built a stream and built a recreation. This is the center of Seoul. I happened to be in Seoul with Mr. Gadkari, not intentionally, but otherwise. I disturbed his itinerary by insisting that he comes with me to this place. He was stunned. Vikram or Vivek Doraiswamy, what's his name, who's the High Commissioner in London? He was the ambassador. And he got very upset with me. How can you disturb my schedule? I said, he needs to see this. You can see music there, and under the bridges there are art exhibitions. And people come out during lunchtime and relax here, and this is what it looks like at night. Imagination. look at sectors of Delhi and create magical things like this. It is easily possible. My favorite topic. We came to Delhi, to Noida actually, 1995. And rivers have always held a fascination for me. By the way, I've worked on 6 rivers around the world, including the Brahmaputra, big, mighty Brahmaputra, and the Sabarmati north of Ahmedabad. Not what is now channelized, but north of it, because that is where we were designing Gift City, and we needed a riverfront. So we chose a land in the first sector in Noida next to the river, thinking, wow, we will live next to the river. We will walk to the river, and it'll be a very pleasant exercise. But of course, that didn't quite happen. It is 7,000 crores already spent by the government to cure this, to do work on the river. Okay, so we did the Yamuna River Plan, which is in this document. The Yamuna runs for 22 kilometers in urban Delhi, the rest in rural Delhi, and there's a river next to it which goes from Ghaziabad to the confluence of the Yamuna, which is a length of 44 kilometers. The 92% of the pollution in the Yamuna comes from Delhi in the 22 kilometers. So we decided to concentrate on the 22 kilometers. What did we say? We'll create 3 larger water bodies, very large water bodies. One north of the Wazirabad dam, or whatever, barrage, one north of Ghaziabad on the Hindon, and one at the confluence south of Delhi with the Yamuna and the Hindon. Why do you do this? Because the Yamuna floodplain in Delhi is between 3 kilometers to 4 kilometers wide. It's kept like that because of the possibility of a flood. So we needed to create a flood bypass so that you could channelize the Yamuna in Delhi. We decided to create these large water bodies and store water. 5,000 years ago, people used to dig holes and store water in the monsoon and use it. Simple thing. Of course, we have to dig larger holes over here. Store 2 billion cubic meters in all 3 of these water bodies. Out of 11 billion cubic meters that runs through Delhi, at least it used to 20 years ago when we were working on this. Store 2 billion cubic meters and use that water to flush the river. If you go to your toilet and don't flush the toilet, the same thing happens with the rivers. They need to be flushed, and there's no water to flush it. Plus, this will also be adequate water for Delhi for up to, we had estimated 20 years ago, up to 2035. Another very interesting fact is, in those days, the price of tanker water was 400 times the price of supplied water by Delhi Jal Board, especially to affluent areas, 400 times. The next highest was 6 times in Jakarta. But it was 400 times here. So this would have solved the short water problem, it would have recharged the water table, and this would have prevented the flood coming into the 22-kilometer stretch, and it would have stored the water around the year. Use this water around the year to flush it, and again, when the rain comes, you store this water. By the way, this was accepted by Delhi government, approved by Delhi cabinet. I spoke to Mr. Huda at that time, who was the Chief Minister of Haryana, I said, sir, part of this water body has to be in Haryana. He told me, we give clean water to Delhi and they give dirty water to us out of Delhi. But he agreed, because this would have been a very, very good thing for Delhi. When you take out the earth from this, you create small mountains, you create islands, you plant 1 million trees, you create resorts, you change the microclimate of Delhi, you increase the water recharge, and 2024, this guy, Bhim Singh Rawat, who opposed our plan, said 20 years later, the river is dead because no water is being released into it. This was the scheme for releasing water into it. You would have brought back the aquatic life into the river. I would have been very happy. I would walk from my house and not down to the river or two. And what do? We channelize the river. The light blue is how the river wanders and meanders all over the place, all over the floodplain. The deep blue is how you would channelize it. We had planned the channelization at the upper Sabarmati before Mr. Modi built it within Ahmedabad, a few years before. So this was not done. And now if you go to Ahmedabad, from a dirty drain that the river was, it is very pleasant. Rivers need to be tamed. They cannot be very, very funny story. A UP Deputy Chief Minister said to me, Dr. Das, he used to call me doctor for some reason or the other. He said, Ganga ji हमसे नाराज होके 4 किलोमीटर दूर हो गए हम वो गंगा टेम्पल से गढ़मुक्तेश्वर में. दास साहब आप गंगा जी को वापस ले आइए ना. And he gave me a helicopter to survey the place. You cannot allow rivers to run wild. This was the channelization of the river, and we would build a small island with a Delhi icon over there, symbol of Delhi. And urban forest. Now, this is a sporting plan for India, the center of sports. Olympic qualification 2036. Everything, all sports within the floodplain that is now released by the river. Everything, all Olympic events can be held within here. They can all move around very, very fast. And this would be magical. And you will certainly get the Olympics 2023. This was going to cost at that time 15,000 crores. 20 years ago. So you're talking about, and would have increased by now. This is estimate in 2004. You're talking about 3 lakh crores to be spent in the next 5 years on infrastructure. This is a pittance, and it will change Delhi forever. Impact, largest urban renewal project in the history of India, can be part funded by private investment, transform Delhi into 21st century city. And it would provide something like 20, 30 square meters for every resident of Delhi for recreation space and parks. Improve the microclimate and bring back some quality of life and positioning of Delhi. Thank you. If you